Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Let me give it a moment to allow people to log in. If you want, you may have been notified on your phone that you've been tweeted at to show people we've gone live. And I am just going to quickly repost that.
Okay, I'll do the same.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. Just give us a moment. Oh, I actually had lights I was going to do. Oh. Let me see if I can get this going. There we go. A little bit of lights. There we go. I think we all got the ring lights everywhere.
Right, yeah. We all get the setup.
Yeah. Awesome. So as people are rolling in, I'm going to do my introduction. So good evening, everyone. Welcome. If you're tuning in for the first time, this is the La Maison de Rouge Monday night weekly live broadcast. I am your host, Lucy Sweetkill, one half of the duo that is La Maison de Rouge. A little bit about who we are. LMDR is dedicated to expanding the BDSM experience by discussing, educating, and informing our audiences about the intersections of kink, wellness, sexuality, spirituality, and social activism. We aim to create a safe space for discussing these topics, as well as providing an avenue for our guests to share their stories and experiences. Thank you again for joining us. Tonight, our guest is a dominatrix and stand-up Dommedian. There's like so many D's in there.
It's just Dommy.
Yeah, as well as an artist, writer, model, speaker, and future fetish esthetician. We're going to get into that. From her sharp-tongued takedowns of social media, massage noir, to her various speaking engagements around the East Coast, this proud pansexual has worked to amplify the voices of queer, Black, and brown survivors and sex workers alike. At the end of the day, her mission is simple: to spread Black Thot Supremacy, to inspire and celebrate Black and POC sex workers, comedians, and creatives to take up as much damn space as she can and continue to bleed daddies' wallets dry. Please welcome, pronoun she, her, Madame Namio.
Hello.
Thank you for being on our show.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
Awesome. So I know that was a big intro. I want to give you a moment to add anything else or let our audience know any more about you before we get into our first questions.
That pretty much covers most of it that I can think of right now. Yeah.
Awesome. It was a great, it was great information. So, well, we always start off when we have a new guest, we always start off with your origin story. How did you get to where you are now? Because obviously none of us, this is not the typical career path for many people. So there's always a good story and journey behind it.
Yeah, I grew up wanting to be a published author. My mom wanted me to be a brain surgeon, and now I'm a dominatrix who writes. So I got like right in the middle there. It's like almost full med vet, but not really. So I'm like right there.
Yeah.
But it's actually really funny. I became introduced to kink and dominatrixes through an art project that I did in college. And it came to me as like a form of healing. I grew up in like a really crazy household that was violent and insane, and I ran away from home, and then I went to college and I was sexually assaulted in college. And I remember just feeling just completely ripped apart, and just I really felt like I was this thing that only existed to be used by other people. And I remember just feeling like I needed to do something. And usually I heal through creative outlets. So I was like, I want to do this photo project that's like where I'm this like really powerful person. And I kept trying to think like, what is like a really powerful, beautiful thing? And like dominatrixes just popped into my head. And I was like, what would that look like? And I started like going on my computer and doing some research and stuff. And I was just like in awe. I was like, I want to be that. That's what I want to be. So I dressed up as a Dom. That was the first time I ever wore Dom gear. I dressed up as a Dom and I dommed frat guys in front of the frat house where I was raped. And
wow,
it changed my life. It just really, I never thought that I could ever feel beautiful and powerful again, but I felt all of those things in the exact same place where I had been ripped apart. So after that, I was like, I want to feel this way all the time. And it just really opened my eyes to where like my life can be more than pain. My life can be more than my past or the situation that I was put into. Like there's more to this. Mm-hmm. And the more research I did, the more I realized like, wait, I was kind of doing some of this kinky shit before. I just didn't have names for it. Like I was homeless for a while I was in college. And one of the things that I used to do was go on Tinder and OkCupid to get free meals out of people, because that's the best thing to do when you're in New York City and you don't have a place to live. And I remember, yeah, and a few guys used to be like, oh, like, can you like humiliate me? Can you this? And like, I was always really good with like verbal humiliation and impact play, like before I even knew what that was. I just thought that that was like a fun thing that I enjoyed. And then once I did that art project, I was like, this is something that I want to feel all the time. And it just, I just really dove into it. And it's really helped shape other aspects of my life in a really positive and powerful way. And also like, because of discovering kink and BDSM at that time, that's how I learned boundaries.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like growing up. I didn't really know about physical, emotional boundaries because I was basically just taught to be this doormat to mm-hmm. people and to just be like, or to my abusers. Like I was just taught to just be this thing to be used by people. But like BDSM taught me like, no, I need to state what I want. I need to state what I'm not okay with. Like it really helped me figure out how to communicate my needs and how to communicate what I don't need. It really taught me boundaries. So it's helped me grow a lot as a person. And I've developed a whole bunch of skills that are coming in handy in more ways than I thought possible.
We talked about one, just the ring lighting.
Yes. The ring light. Yeah, all sex workers can be like, they have the geek squad. Like they can just have the fucking, I don't know, the Dom squad, the Cam squad. Like they will figure your shit.
Totally. We will show you how to be beautiful in every photo, lighting. Oh.
Literally, yep. And we will show you how to set that shit up and be your photographer, makeup artist, creative designer, all that shit into one package.
That's amazing. Your story is really amazing. I'd love to know more about this art project. So it was obviously a performance-based art project that you did in front of the house?
It was a photo project.
Okay.
It was a photo project called Reclamation. And I basically went to every frat house on Frat Row, including the one that I was assaulted in. And I had these people modeling as my frat guys, and I had them wearing tank tops that said frat filth, and I had them in like ball gags and stuff. But like the best part about it was that I basically petitioned to Wesley and my university being like, you guys need to provide me with the funds to make this photo shoot happen, because you don't advocate for survivors of sexual violence on this campus. You don't take care of us. You don't offer us resources. And we need artwork here that supports this community because you don't support this community. So Wesleyan paid for all this shit. And it was just really funny when they were like looking at the budget list, and it's just like 6 ball gags, like 3 chain leashes, like all this shit. And they were like, what is this?
Yeah, because you have to itemize it out, I bet,
Yeah.
right?
They were like, what the fuck is this? And part of the rule was like, they were like, well, this shit has to get reused on campus. Like, you can't just keep the stuff. So I gave it all to like the queer burlesque group on my campus. I was like, you guys can use this shit. You can do it. So it was all really good in the end.
That is amazing. So, you know, it seems like, and you said that it was a very kind of a super empowering project to do. Were you expecting that?
No. I was expecting to feel some form of empowerment because I always do when I work through my issues with creative outlets. Like I always feel better about it because I'm finally getting a chance to have control over a situation where I didn't have control anymore.
Yeah.
So whether I write about it, perform about it, I get to rewrite it and I get to have power over it again. And that's really empowering. But like the degree to which this photo shoot, like I didn't think that this photo shoot was gonna make me feel that strong and that I didn't realize that it was gonna open up my eyes to the realization that like, oh, my life can be more than this. Like
Yeah.
this isn't everything. Like when you deal with abuse growing up or just in your everyday life, like it's really kind of beaten into you that like this is all it is, and if you try to leave, you know, you're never gonna be anything, blah blah blah. And I really had that kind of ingrained. But like when I stood there with that flogger and the sun was in my face, I felt unstoppable. Like no one could touch me, no one could do nothing to me, that I could just, I don't know. It was just like this surge of not only power, but like I felt really grounded, and I felt really grounded in my own skin, which was something that I wasn't that used to at the time.
Yeah.
And to my own sensuality as well, because that like was all over the place. It's like that moment, it was like I was powerful, but it was like I was powerful in my mind, in my stance, and I was like connected with my body. Like usually I'm disassociating, I'm out of my body, I'm having an anxiety attack, I'm having this, like that's all that was happening on campus. But in that moment, like I was completely grounded and centered, and I felt good. I felt really good being myself, which was
Yeah.
something that was difficult for me at the time. And that's when I was just like, I want to do this. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to have some part of my life has to include this because this feels amazing.
Yeah. That is really amazing. That's a really amazing story. I hope you have that like photo framed and like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, the whole series. Yeah, that series. Every time I'm having a bad day, I'm like, let me just look back at.
You're like, this is what it's about.
Yes. Yep.
So when you also realized as you were doing your research and you're realizing, wow, I've actually been, doing some of this stuff in my personal life, what were some of those exact experiences that you had already been doing but just didn't have the vocabulary around it?
I went on a date for food with this one guy, and he gave me like an extra $60 because of my socks. He was like, yo, like, are you cool with taking your shoes off? And I'm like, why? He's like, I don't know, I just want to look at your socks. And then he was like, I'll give you $60 for those. And I was like, that's enough for like a white man's eighth. Like, sure, take my socks. Like, okay. I was like, I didn't know that people were into that shit. And then like a lot of verbal humiliation. Like I used to have this one guy who would send me money while he was like, he would be in like some kind of a public setting. Like he would be at, for example, it was the Super Bowl one time. He was at like a Super Bowl party at his friends, and he would pay me to basically humiliate him while he's there. Like he would go into the bathroom and like do a face call, and I would just be like, look at you, look, fucking pasty piece of shit. Like you look like a phantom mutation of Ricky Gervais. Like your fucking dick looks fucking pathetic. Like it looks like a fucking unbreaded mozzarella stick. Like whatever. Like I would just say like the stupidest shit. And that's how I would get my food. That's how I like, you know, would get some extra cash here and there when I was just, you know, like hustling and just being a thought and trying to just get through life. But like not that, those were like the moments where I was like, oh shit, I was actually already doing this. I didn't know that this was like an actual thing. I thought that was just that guy or that person just wanted to do that. I didn't realize that it was like an actual fetish. I was like, oh my God, there's so many fetishes. Like, it's just like a treasure trove. There's so many. It was really exciting.
Have you, I guess that leads into kind of some of the other things you do beyond, you know, being a dominatrix is being a comedian.
Yeah.
You know, I think you have to be very like good at, you know, your words and humiliation to do both, right?
Yeah.
And so what is your work like? Because you use the term, you know, Dommedian kind of coming together. So what do you mean by that? What does that term mean to you?
I do talk a lot about my stand-up revolves all around, like, of course, my life and my experiences. And a lot of that has to do with like what I do for work. When I originally started doing stand-up, I actually started doing stand-up because I used to be, before I was a dom, I was a waitress, or I would work at these like Michelin star places that were really awful. And I used to work at this one place and I hated it. It was so bad. It was so annoying. And like every day before work, I would go to a coffee shop across the street from my house and I would just make these shitty jokes about the customers there. And then someone there was like, you should come to our comedy night. And that was my first time doing stand-up, was just talking about that job. And then when I started doing more sex work, I started talking more about that because like, honestly, sex work and being a comedian goes hand in hand because you're literally just handed this material. Like the shit that sex workers see, hear, and like do every day, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's really hilarious. And it was to the point where I'm like, I can't not talk about this. Like, this is so funny. This is so funny. And also, like, these are the people that I want to make laugh. Like, I remember when I would do, you know, some stand-up nights and stuff, it would really bother me that, like, my friends and my family that would come to see me were always on pins and needles because, like, they never knew when they were going to get thrown under the bus because, you know, we're queer, people are trans, people are sex workers, people are Black, you know, like, I remember one time, oh my God, someone said like such a racist joke on Martin Luther King Day. And like all my friends had to get up and leave. And I was like, I don't want that. So me and another amazing comedian named Zilla Vodnas, we did a thing called Dom the Mic where like it was just femmes and women's who performed. And a lot of us were sex workers. And I was like, yeah, like sex workers need to laugh. Like our job is hard. And also just like it would just be such a waste not to use all this information that's given to you. And I also love the term Dommedian because I have a very commanding stage presence.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have to have a very commanding stage presence because if not, people are just going to be disrespectful. People have tried to get me off the stage. People have said things to me before. And I always just shut the shit down. Like when I am on stage and I have this mic, you are going to respect me. You don't have to like what I'm saying. I don't give a fuck if you don't like what I'm saying. You can get up and leave, or you can sit there and look like you're sucking on a lemon. I don't give a fuck, but you will respect me. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You will respect me. And that's kind of like And that's always the attitude that I want to have when I get up there. Like, I want to make sure that like everyone's having a good time, but that I'm also ready to check someone if it needs to happen. So no, like when I get on stage, like you can say whatever you want to me after the show. You can comment what you want on my post, whatever. But when I'm on that stage and I have that mic, you're gonna fucking listen. And you're gonna respect me. Like,
yeah, from a flogger in one hand and a mic in the other, huh?
Yeah, literally, it's the same. Like, it's the same kind of thing. Like when you're stepping into the room in a session, and it's just like you don't even need to do anything. You can just look at the person and just have this way about you that just says everything. Just like, no, like my space now. Like, you're gonna respect me.
So I want to ask you about you as a dominatrix, like what your interest is, your kinks, any, things that you want to tell possible potential subs, advice. So let's start with, as a dom, what type of dom are you? What's your style? What are your interests? What do you bring into a session? What can people expect from you?
I consider myself pretty sensually sadistic and also pretty humorous. Like, my coworkers have said in the past that like, oh, that she's having a really good session when you just hear me like cackling. Like, I have this specific laugh that I do, especially like in impact play sessions or just like heavy pain sessions. It's just this like jovial chuckle or something. And because it's just like it just makes me happy. Like, impact play makes me happy, and just like the plethora of different things that you can do makes me really happy. So like, I definitely have like I'm serious about being respected, and I'm serious about my money, but in regards to everything else, like I have a lot of fun with it. Like,
yeah,
I like to really enjoy myself and take my time. I get a lot of clients that see me for like foot sessions because I have really big feet, but also like some weird thing that my grandfather taught me how to do when I was a kid. It was like the one bonding moment we had. He taught me how to like pinch really hard with my toes. He was like, yeah, you can just pinch somebody really hard with your toes. And he taught me how to pick shit up and stuff. Thank you, Grandpa, because that is really coming in handy now. That is real. I made some good money off of that. So thank you. Thank you very much.
All transferable skills.
Literally, like,
amazing. That's amazing. What are some things that you don't like? Whether actual activities, how subs are, things that I guarantee most probably you use in your stand-up comedy too.
Fucking, I hate when a sub, especially when it's like a sub that has already either purchased a service or some content from you, and then they'll hit you up and be like, oh, so how much for this? And it's like, you know how much it is. We've had this conversation before. It's this much. And they're like, oh, you sure it's not this? And it's some lower shit. And it's like, no, it's this much. And then they make a whole nother profile to ask the same question again, but like the profile, they always keep some kind of similar name. Like, I had one guy do this to me, and his name would always change, but it would be some version of Michael. So he would like hit me up and be like, Slave Michael. It's like, so for this much? It's like, no, bro. Told you already. We've done this before. He's like, okay, cool. Whole nother profile shows up, and it's like, at Mike the Slave. Hey, so for this much? And it's like, yo, I know it's you. It's you. Like, it's like Slave Boy Mike, Michael the Slave, Mike the Slave Boy. I'm like, it's you. It's like, God damn it. Like, why are you making all of these different and they're all the same name? I'm like, you're so stupid. Like, you're doing all of this for what? To make the same name?
It is very true. You would assume they would at least diversify it a little better.
They don't. Like, that's the part about this job too. Like, I always knew men were stupid, but like, wow, like really? It's like, oh my God, do you do this? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, here's my website. You know, my page has this. There's information in my bio. There's a link to the site. There's this. There's a pinned tweet. And it's like, oh, but how do I send this? I'm like, just read. Like, are you so horny you can't read? Like, all the blood is going to your dick, so you just can't read anymore? Like, what is happening? I don't understand.
I feel like every female femdom feels the same way. We're like, are you typing with one hand or maybe no hands?
Right.
Like, what is happening in this exchange? Like, why? Like, I think most of us have made it pretty like foolproof. Like, all the information is there.
It's all literally there. Every dom I know has spent hours just making sure that like it's just all there, it's all easily accessible, just to have these horny motherfuckers just like not read it.
I know.
Like, God damn it, it's all there.
One of my favorite email replies is to say, please read my previous email. And then if they continue to ask questions I've already answered, please read my previous email. Please read my previous, that I just copy paste, please read. If you've gotten that out there, it's because you are not reading my previous email.
Read the thing. Like, it's so, oh my God. And then the worst is like when they're just like, oh, I want to do a session now. And like, they don't try to book ahead of time or anything. It's like, I'm not a hologram. Like, I just exist in the session room or in my room or whatever. And I just pop up when, you know, you want to come over. Like, I'm a person. Like, I got shit to do. Like, I'm not just there all the time. And it's like, oh, but I'm ready and I could be there in 20 minutes. I'm like, yeah, but you're like a sack of shit. Of course you're ready. Yeah, I'm sure you are. You look like a piece of drywall. I'm sure you're ready for anything. Like, good for you. But like, I need time to figure shit out because I'm a human being. Not like some sex worker hologram that just exists. Like, it's just, yo. Like, it's an actual business. That's the part I'm like, you know, it's like an actual business. Like, you wouldn't go into a supermarket and be like, oh, I'm just going to take these groceries, but I'll pay you next week. I'll get money next week. I'll give it to you next. Like, no. What?
I was actually speaking to my partner about this because I was very frustrated today because I got some emails and I was like, the emails I get are like, if you were to email a tax accountant and write taxes ? What the hell does that mean? It's like,
right.
avail ? Like, what, you know?
Right. So, I'm still listening. I'm just plugging in the charger because my phone is.
No worries. Yeah, it's just so like, you know, or like messages you get sometimes where people are saying things like, oh, well, I want to, you know, I wish you would like, I could serve you. Okay, well, that's very easy to do. You have like, it's all out there. Oh, well, you know, maybe it's because I'm serving someone else. Okay, well, then don't tell me it's kind of like, oh, I would love if you did my taxes. Okay, well, here's my business website. Oh, no, I already have an accountant. I don't need my taxes done. Then why are you reaching out?
Why are you telling me?
Yeah.
Why are you telling me? Like, right. It's just like, okay. Like, you think I actually care about your feelings? I just want... Also, when you talk to me, that's another person who could be talking to me.
Yeah. It's just more respectful, you know, like respectful requests. Like, you know, it can be a very like caring and beneficial interaction for both parties as long as you come into it with like that effort and that intention.
Right.
But you can't expect to like reach out to a dominant and a professional dominant and then like come at it in such disrespectful ways and then think that your interaction after that is going to be any better or
Right.
think that that person's not going to be like pissy in their session with you because you've
Right.
already pissed them off.
Yeah. You've already pissed them off because you don't read. Like, literally all there. Like, and then like the way that they'll message you or talk to you, like you were saying, like available. I'm like, are you broken? Like, are you okay? What's going? Like the amount of times, like I'll check my email. I'm like, oh, like it'll say subject, like oh session, blah blah blah. And one guy, like I go in there, I'm like, oh cool, possible potential, awesome. I open it up, all it says is tits.
You're like, okay. Single
like,
word.
I know, I wake up with these. They're heavy as fuck. I know they're there, but also just like, I just want to be in that person's brain. I'm like, okay, so you see my profile, you're like, I want to book a session with her. Like, I really want to meet her, blah, blah, blah. Typed in the email address, typed in the right subject, but oh my God, now all I can write is tits. Like, what?
Yeah, I wonder how, like what happens. Where's the disconnect, right?
Right. I wish that there could be like a planet Earth about that could just like be about the synapses in the brain of the person who's doing that, just so that we can see. Because I'm sure it's fascinating. I'd love to know because I'm confused. Because like I'm horny too, but like I can still read. Like, I don't lose the ability to read when I'm horny. I don't know if that's just me, but for most people, they don't lose the ability to read when they're horny. So I don't know what's going on.
So is doming something you feel like you'll be doing for a very long time? What are your expectations with this work?
I feel like it's definitely going to be a part of my life for a very long time, but like in different ways. Like I always thought that I would just be like a dominatrix, but now during quarantine I was in school for to get my esthetician's license, and I've actually been training as a sugar wax technician. And I was thinking like, oh, I would love to cater services like this specifically to sex workers, because I feel like you should be able to go to a skincare technician and be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this scene, I want my shit to look like this. Or I just a space where like you don't have to lie about what you do for work or anything. You can just tell me what you need, and I can not only help you but also help you understand your skin more and just how it functions and how it helps the body, how our bodies work, because that's never really explained to us growing up, and that's a big problem. And I would also love to incorporate, because a lot of the stuff that we do in skincare, especially in hair removal, is very painful. And I was like, this could be a lot easier to get through if, you know, we added some fun things here. Like, I don't know. Like, I was like, my dream is to get my esthetician's license, and I'll still have, you know, my submissives, and I'll still do stuff like specifically just dom stuff, but like I would also like to have it incorporated into my skincare career.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be a really, because in a way, taking care of your skin and going to see a dominatrix they're both acts of self-care.
Yeah.
You're getting different services, but they're both acts of self-care that you're receiving from a professional. And I feel like sometimes it can be really difficult to keep up with routines, or maybe to take care of yourself for the sake of taking care of yourself. I know that I can have that problem sometimes because I have depression and PTSD and I deal with that. But if I can get it in a different way of in a different frame of thinking, it's easier for me to do things. So if maybe we can frame it as like, you're coming in for a session with me where like we're gonna do impact play and sensational play and stuff, but I'm also gonna wax you, and I'm also gonna like treat your skin, and we're also gonna do this. Like it can just kind of meld everything together, and it can just be more helpful with like a routine. Like for me, one of the ways that I've been kind of keeping myself sane during this quarantine is, before I used to beat myself up about a lot of things, not being productive enough or as much as I'd like to be, just, you know, being kind of in a rut. And lately I've been thinking like, how would I dom myself? Like if I were going to see me and I'm coming with this baggage, what would I say to myself? And it's been really helpful, because it's like, I would never shoot myself down because I'm not being as productive, because I'm depressed, I'm having this other issue, whatever. Like, I'm not going to beat myself up over something that I cannot control or do. But what I am going to do is I'm going to set up a schedule, and I'm going to make sure that I stick by it, or I'm going to have myself do like I'll give myself subtasks. Like that's like been how I've been able to like get some stuff done during this quarantine. I've been thinking about it like that. And I was like, well, that's been very helpful. And that's been a lot of self-care. Like, why can't we implement that with skincare and taking care of your skin and your body, and just doing it in a way where you're learning and growing with yourself, and you're doing things because you want to make yourself better and feel better, and not because you feel like you have to, so that you look a certain way, because that's just bullshit. That's just total bullshit. So I feel like being a dom is going to evolve into different things, but I feel like that's just always going to be a part of my life, because not only is it empowering, but also just it does an amazing job of just honing in so many skills that I didn't even know that I had. Like I didn't even know. I never thought I would be a good multitasker. I never thought I would be able to like put looks together or come up with concepts or do in-person sessions or figure, like I never thought I could do any of those things. But being a dom has really just opened the doors to all of that, and it just keeps me on my toes, and all of those skills make me better at all of the other things that I do. Like being a dom makes me a really fucking good sugar wax technician. Like there are some things that go on, like, you know, for example, when you're dealing with sugar wax, it's lemon, sugar, water. If it's too hot, you can't burn people, because if it's too hot, it's liquid. You can't even bring it to the person's body. And in order to like hold the sugar, you have to constantly like hold it in your hands like this. And I remember when I first started, I was like, God damn it, like the sugar kept falling out of my hands. I was like, I can't figure it out. And then I was like, wait, you know, before I would have my hands like this, you know, and if it was someone's balls, like I'd be grabbing them like this, or moving them around like this. So I was like, maybe I should try that. And it worked. Like all these little things like that I was having a really hard time with. I was like, wait, but I like, as a dom, you know, when you have to flick the sugar, you have to be really light with your wrist and flick that way. And at first I was having a hard time, but then I was like, you're smacking an ass. Like it's instinctive. It's really just how I've been able to just get really good at it really quickly, because I was like, wow, I already had some of these skills already. I was just doing different things.
Yeah, I love how you recognize all the transferable skills, because I think that is something that is hard for people to do in general, like to see that things they do in one part of their life is transferable to other parts of their life. And I think domination work is just, you learn so many skills that can transfer out like crazy. Like I transfer lots of my skills all around from everything that I've learned in domination work, and vice versa from any of my jobs. One thing I do see that you could definitely do with your esthetician is have a space and market to, you know, cross-dressers, force femme, sissification, you know, dom sub, like outings to get waxed and cleaned up, because a lot of people have issues with that due to judgment, right? A lot of men can't get waxed, or they're scared about it because they don't want some people to judge them, especially if they're not into humiliation.
Right.
And that might be like a really amazing service to be able to provide, you know?
That would make my day. I would love that so much. That's the dream. Like my I'm working at Sugaring Brooklyn now, and my boss friend Natalie there what keeps telling me, she's like, your sugar dungeon is gonna happen. They always tell me, they're like, your sugar dungeon is gonna happen. We're gonna make it happen. Because I'll be telling them these ideas, and they're like, this is great. This is fantastic. And then also just like how I was thinking about how some of my past submissives really liked me to be in control of how they looked, even like how short their hair would be and stuff. I was like, that would be cool to offer, like with other stuff. Like,
yeah,
I could wax the dom's name into your chest. Who knows? Like, we can figure it out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options in that. That's really awesome. I wanted to ask you about, you know, your other speaking engagements and things you do around being a Black sex worker. So I know obviously we're in this very important time that has a lot of change and transition going on, hopefully for the better. And what is that like for you? What are your thoughts around that? How do you see sex workers leading that conversation too, in a lot of ways? And your experience with that, because as there aren't that many, like there are a lot of white dogs, like we see that, you know, and so there isn't that many, you know, POC doms, and this is sort of a very important time to talk about it.
Yeah, it's it's definitely been it's not really an eye-opener, because this is all shit that we've been dealing with and seeing for a very long time. I think one thing that I did notice now was just like the whole surge in people trying online sex work or trying new things now because of the pandemic. They lost their job. All this stuff is going on. And one thing that I keep noticing is that there's no real respect for the sex workers who paved the way for this, for all of this. And I think Black sex workers, especially like in New York, we've been trying really hard to just we can really only depend on ourselves and on taking care of each other, because it's just like we continue to see this thing of just sex workers, especially Black sex workers, being seen as these things that only are of use when you use them, or they're only worthy when like you use them and then that's it. Like that's what they're there for. And it's just like, no, we're actually human beings, and our jobs matter, and we deserve labor rights, and we deserve basic human rights. And it's definitely really painful to be saying shit that should be fucking obvious, but it's been really, really beautiful seeing just how this community has come together, seeing how like I just see other Black sex workers really just trying to take care of each other. I'm a part of Black Dom sorority, which has been really helpful in just communicating with other Doms like me, and just being able to be vulnerable, being able to ask questions, which I think is really awesome, because when you start out in this business, you're kind of you have to do a lot of research. That's the thing that people don't really seem to understand. Like sex work, like it's mainly research, emails, and like learning how to do sites or finding shit. Like it's mainly just, people think that you're just in a dungeon all day, and it's like, no, I'm behind a fucking computer trying to figure all this shit out. Like that's basically what I'm doing. And it's, yeah, like, sorry, I got 2:30 p.m. brain. I just forgot what I was talking. What was the last thing that I was just saying?
That you're part of Black Dom sorority.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So that community has been really, really, really helpful to just have. And then Venus Cuffs, she's an amazing Black dominatrix in New York City. She's been raising money to get food and groceries and things for other Black sex workers, POC sex workers that need it, because shit, like we didn't get any kind of bailout, anything for COVID. In fact, like the small business bailout specifically was like, oh, legal sex workers, fuck off. You're not getting any of this. So like, and then there's no unemployment. So it's just like, we're in, our community's in danger. It's always been in danger, but right now it's really dire. So it's been really disheartening to see other white people in the industry take advantage of that right now. Like I've seen some white doms like will advertise their OF pages as like hotter than the riots in or whatever, like all kinds of shit like that.
Whoa.
I had to take a break from Twitter that day. I was like, okay, I'm logging out. But it's stuff that I've seen before, and it's stuff that I'm not surprised about, but I'm glad that we're talking about it. But even more so, I'm really proud of just seeing how my community's banding together, and we're really trying to take care of each other. It sucks that it always has to be us taking care of us when it should be everybody taking care of us, because everybody obviously needs us. Everybody obviously, like needs us and needs our services. So it would be nice if you just treated us like human beings. But it's been really powerful to see that community really come together. And it's been really powerful to be in a position where I can be like, okay, yeah, I do need some help with this.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, well, most of the time when you're a dominant, you're the one who's always in control, and you're the one who's setting everything up. And it can be really difficult sometimes to just take a step back and be like, I actually need help with this. Like, this is a lot. And I'm grateful for that community, because I've been able to say that during this time, which has been imperative to me, being able to like take a step back sometimes and be like, you know what, today's a me day. I can't do anything. Like I was beating myself up for a while because I really have not been able to produce any content for the past few weeks because of my mental health and stuff, and like was really beating myself up about it. But like luckily I had that community to talk to and to voice my concerns about, and to be vulnerable and just be like, listen, I'm hurting right now. I feel really shitty that I can't make this money, or that I can't do these things. And it's really reassuring to hear other people be like, I'm dealing with that too, and that's okay. Or like, it's okay to feel really shitty right now. There's a whole bunch of the world is literally on fire. It's okay. Like, it's okay to be off your game. Like, that's fine. You're a person. And that's been, and thank God for that, because I'm my worst critic, and I can be really, really hard on myself, and that'll just fuck my whole shit up. So it's really, really good to have that community to just remind me that like I am a human being, and I need to treat myself like my own best friend and really care for myself right now, because shit is crazy. Shit is really crazy. We need to be gentle with ourselves right now.
Totally. That is, the message that everyone needs to hear loud and clear is that we need to be gentle on ourselves. I want to open it up for any questions from our audience. So if you have any questions, I will kind of click on you. You won't be live or anything, but your question will appear on the screen. If you ask a question that seems disrespectful, it will not show up on the screen. So very clear.
Did you hear that? Guys?
Should I put it in writing?
They're not going to read it. So it doesn't matter.
Someone has asked, actually, so where can we donate to help? So what are some mutual aid? Where are some avenues that you recommend people to donate to, that you support?
Giselle Marie has started the Black Sex Worker Relief Fund. She has the links all up in her bio. You can go to her Instagram or her Twitter at the Giselle Marie. The Black Sex Worker Relief Fund is basically just raising money to assist Black sex workers with housing, food, whatever we need, essentially. I know that Venus Cuffs is still doing the grocery buying and buying supplies for Black and POC sex workers in New York. So you can cash app her at $ Venus Cuffs, and she's amazing. Like, the way that she organizes and does everything is fucking incredible. Yeah. Swap is always fantastic, but also the best thing you can do, tip sex workers. Tip your favorite Black and POC sex workers. Like, subscribe to their shit, tip them, like, show them some love. Shit is really rough right now. That can really go a long way. Like, tip your favorite sex workers. That's the best way to help a sex worker directly, is to just give them money and support through that way. But the other things I was talking about are fantastic as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Some people need, like, tipping your sex workers is important. They provide a service, and if they, they take a risk. Many of us who are starting to take sessions again are taking a big risk with our health to do that. We don't always get the luxury to work at home, in the sense of, we have OnlyFans and there's possible customs, but not everyone can do that. Not everyone has the privacy to do that, the equipment to do that. And the pay on those things are not as great as people think. Like, the amount of work that you have to put in to keep up with all this content and do all of that,
it's so much.
It's so much. It is so much. It's very exhausting. So, all these OnlyFans has a tip button. Sex Panther has a tip button. Night Flirt has a tip button. Most sex workers have a wish list. Yes. Have a, some sort of cash account. Like, if you've seen a provider and you want to make sure that that provider will continue doing this work, then reach out to them and provide, a little bit of cash, because they may get out of the business due to, like, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. So, and we know a lot of people are suffering too, but there's still also a lot of people who aren't affected at all due to the fact that their jobs can be, like, done online. I, like, posted this recent, like, article about how mostly, there's a lot of white Americans, especially in certain fields, can just work at home so easily. Like, their transition is very easy. They can get things delivered and they're not risking their lives, while most marginalized folks and people of color are the ones who are doing all the work, like delivering your food and doing all that stuff. So tip everyone, tip your people.
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions for those out there, because sometimes it takes a second for questions to come up. I already posted that one. I do want to know if there's any upcoming projects, performances that you're doing that people can either follow, sign up to, check out.
Yes. I am so lucky to be a part of my sister Davina is putting together this show that's going to have poetry. I'm doing stand-up, lip syncing, dancing, all kinds of stuff. It's going to be this Saturday at 7 p.m. It's called the Femme Fatale 2.0 show. It's going to be, you can reserve via email. I will be posting a flyer for it with all the information on my Instagram. So it'll all be there, and I'll probably tweet about it too. So that's this upcoming Saturday.
Awesome. Anything else?
Probably I'm just having a hard time remembering because like time means nothing now. Like, I don't know about you, but like I never know what day it is.
Oh, I know. That's like all of a sudden you're like, Wednesday? Saturday?
Right. I'm like, what? I'm like, August? When did this happen?
Yeah, this year has been, man. I was saying this to one of my Dom friends. I was like, if 2020 was like a dildo, it'd be like that biggest one you accidentally try to get into you and realize that was the bad mistake.
Yeah. Yes, that's the best 2020 analogy I've heard. That's exactly it. It's just like, wow, I've made a huge mistake.
I thought I could handle this. Nope. With no lube.
Oh, no, that would be too easy.
2020 is the big dildo with no lube.
No lube whatsoever.
That is definitely what you're just like, oh, I'm never going to be the same after this.
Yeah, you're not. You're changed forever.
I'm going to put this comment up just because, I just want to say to you, I'm happy to have tuned in. You are gorgeous. Oh. I thought that was a good comment. Everyone out there, if you look down at the scrolling banner, you will see all of her Instagram, backup Instagram, Twitter, OnlyFans. Sign up for those. Great way of supporting, great way of following and getting more information. Any last words for those out there that you would like to say before we end our show tonight, Namio?
Just to say again, tip sex workers, fuck the police, and decriminalize sex work now. That's all I got to say.
I know, for anybody tuning in, if you don't want to decriminalize sex work, I don't really understand because that's, it doesn't make sense to me, Or those who are like, oh yeah, decriminalize marijuana, legalize marijuana and do all these things, but then they don't want to do that with sex work. And I'm just kind of, the same assumptions were being made about marijuana, right? The same shit. And there are lots of folks being put away for walking while trans or being assumed to, prostitute or whatever and getting ridiculous sentences. So read up on it, folks. LMDR posts about these things a lot. So I want to thank you all for joining. I want to thank our guests tonight. Namio, thank you for joining. I'm really glad.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
I can't wait to check out your stand-ups. I think it will be really awesome. And I also think your future, femdom, cross-dressing, sissification, beauty dungeon will actually be really beneficial. So
thank you. I'm really excited.
Manifest it. Put it out there. So.
I am. Oh yeah.
All right, we're gonna end. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.